here we go. So today you're going to solve quadratic equations using the quadratic formula. Last week we went through 7 steps and we did it graphing. Okay, the quadratic formula is, you have it on your paper, it's negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Before you start to solve any problem, I would get in the habit of writing it there so you don't have to keep flipping your paper back and forth, and it kind of commits it to your memory so you'll know it for the final exam. Okay? So here are the steps to solving an equation, a quadratic equation. You're first going to put it in standard form. What is standard form again? How does it look? A is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. That's the key ingredient there. It has to equal 0. Nothing can be on the right-hand side of that equation. If it is, you better get rid of it. Okay? One of the problems we had in last hour's class is they would write it out of order. They would have their x squared and their c and then their x. No, you have to write it in the x squared, then the x, then the number. Okay? It has to go in that order. Because that's the first thing. Then you're going to label a, b, and c, just like we did last week. And then you're just going to plug it in for the formula up there. And we're going to simplify it. Okay, it's not that hard, so let's get started. It just kind of is a long process. Here we go. So our first problem we're going to try together is x minus 3x equals 10. First step is to write it in standard form. Is it in standard form, Ty? And actually, it should be x squared. X squared minus 3x equals 10. Is that in standard form, Ty? No. We have a 10 on the other side. How do I get rid of that positive 10? Move it to the other side. What's the opposite of positive 10? Negative 10. So we're going to have to subtract 10 to make that 0. Okay, so now my new equation is x squared minus 3x minus 10 equals 0. That's the first step. Jalen, write it down. Thank you. So I have my x squared, my bx, my c equals 0. Okay? Here, we have to write out the quadratic formula. Remember I told you it's good practice. You guys already have it on your paper, right? So I'm just going to write it. Negative b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac all over 2a.
It's already on your paper. Please just pay attention.
Now we're just going to substitute the values in for that. So let's label. Ian, can you tell me what my A is? Good job, it's 1. Can you also tell me if we had to make this a parabola, will that parabola go up or down? It'll go up because this is a positive 1 right in front of there. If it's a positive number, the parabola will go up. Okay, what's my B? Ian, what's my B?
Negative.
Good job, negative 3. And what is my C? Negative 10. Negative, don't forget the negative. Negative 10. Okay? All you have to do now is fill it in. So, please do not forget this negative. It's part of the formula. So I have negative, what is my B? Negative 3 plus or minus the square root of, what is my B? Negative 3 squared minus 4 times my A times my C all over 2 times my A. Okay? Murphy didn't give me enough room today.
Sorry.
Now, I have to simplify this. Okay? Imagine, we'll start with you. What's a negative negative? It becomes what? Positive. So I'm going to have a positive 3 on the outside. Don't forget your plus or minus. Now I have to simplify what's under the radical, which is right here. What is a negative 3 times a negative 3? Positive 9. Now, the other thing that students tend to make a lot of mistakes on is whether the next symbol is plus or a minus. If you have a negative and a negative, what is it going to give you? A positive. So please put that down first. Then all you have to do is worry about multiplying. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 10 is 40, right? All over 2 times 1 is 2. Okay, you guys with me so far? What is 40 plus 9? Okay, so I'm just going to write it out here. 3 plus or minus square root of 49 all over 2. What is the square root of 49? 7, right? So now I have to write it 2 ways because you see there's a plus sign out here. There's also a minus sign out here. So I'm going to write it 3 plus 7 over 2 and 3 minus 7 over 2. Where did I get the 7? It's the square root of 49. So 3 plus 7 over 2, 3 minus 7 over 2. Okay, now I just solve it. 3 plus 7 is 10, right? 10 over 2 is 5. 3 take away 7 is a negative 4. Negative 4 over 2 is negative 2. What do those x's mean? That means when you graphed your parabola last week, if I were to graph this again, this just tells me where my x's are. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3. All right. One of my x's is at 5, which is over here. One of my x's is at negative 2, which is here. We already said the parabola would go up. All you have to do is draw your parabola. Okay, so it's another way of getting to what we did last week. Finding your x's, finding your roots, finding your solutions. Okay, flip your paper over. We're going to do number 1 and 2 together. And 3 and 4 we're going to try on your own. So you need to be writing this down. So, first problem is x squared, maybe, Alright, we're kind of going to go around the room here. Starting over here with Terrence. What is my first step according to this paper? Okay, we have to get it in standard form. How do I do that? Terrence. I have to get rid of the negative 4. How do I get rid of the negative 4? Because it should be 0 on that side. I'm sorry? Add 4. We do the opposite. Now, please read back this equation in standard form. I'll start you off. I have x squared. What comes next? Minus 4x plus 4 equals 0. Anyone have a question on how I got that? Yes?
Why is it still minus 4x?
Because that's just part of the equation. We never did anything with the negative 4x. That was part of the original equation. X squared minus 4x, you just carried it down.
So why did we add 4 if it didn't do anything?
Because, well, first of all, you can't add 4 to something that doesn't have an x after it. These are unlike terms. You can only add x's with x's, numbers with numbers. Okay? I just brought it to the left-hand side, that's all. Okay, good question. Now I have to label my A, my B, and my C. Melissa, A, B, I don't know why I'm doing it, hang on. A, B, and C. What are they? Good job. 1, negative 4, positive 4. And it was so easy to do when you wrote it in standard form. Okay? Next up, I just simply have to fill it in for my quadratic equation. Okay? Let's rewrite it so that you have it. Negative b plus or minus. Everyone should be writing this. B squared minus 4 times A times C over 2A. You should get in the habit of writing that every time. Okay? Now I'm just going to fill in parentheses, and you have to, right now, if you're at this point, go ahead and fill in what your numbers are for the letters. I'll call on you in a minute. Okay.
Somebody say they can't see this camera. Can you listen to the slide just for 1 second? Thank you.
What is my B? We are at Hayang. What's my B? Negative 4, that we said? Negative 4. So it's negative b, so I put my negative 4 here. Plus or minus, again, b squared. B is negative 4. Minus 4 times, what's my a? Young? 1. And my c is 4. All over 2 times a. So my a is 1. Okay? Now we just kind of have to simplify. So Justin, what is a negative 4? So we have 4 plus or minus the square root. Now I'm just going to simplify what's underneath here. What's negative 4 squared? Justin? What's negative 4 squared? 16. Positive 16 because negative 4 times negative 4. Now, how many negatives do I have over here in these three numbers? So is my answer going to be positive or negative?
How many negatives do we have? It's negative 4 times 1 times 4, so it should be a negative.
Remember, odd number of negatives equal negative. A positive number of negatives equal a positive.
An even number of negatives
Thank you.
equals a positive, an odd number of negatives equals 0.
So, I have my sign. So, negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 times 4 is negative 16, right? We already have the negative there, so I'm just going to write down the 16. All over 2. Again, I have to simplify. What's 16 take away 16? 0. So I have 4 plus or minus the square root of 0 over 2. What is the square root of 0? We have to solve this. You never leave a square root. What is the square root of 0? It's 0, right? So I'm to the point now where I have to write it both ways. I have to write 4 plus whatever this is. So in some sense it's 0. 4 plus 0 over 2. And 4 minus 0 over 2. Okay, what's 4? 4 plus 0 is 4. 4 over 2 is what?
2.
So x equals 2 on this side. This is 4 over 2. What's 4 over 2 again? X equals 2. Let's graph it, just so you know what it looks like.
X equals 2.
So look, here's where our dot is. We said before that it was going to go up, right? Because the number is positive. So look at this. It only touches once, so
So this one has one solution. Isn't that, my personal opinion is, this is much easier than going through and graphing it and following those 7 steps. I would rather plug it into this formula. I know they both take a long time, but I don't like graphing.
Okay, let's do number 2 together. Okay? What?
Do you need other piece of paper?
Everyone have this down? Next page, number 2.
Here, Maji.
2x squared minus 2 equals 3x. This is where we need to be careful when we write it in standard form. Where am I? Jalen, how do I put this in standard form? It's my first step. Subtract what? Subtract the 3x. And there's nothing I can subtract it with over here, right? Nothing's alike, so we're just going to add it to that side. So Jalen, please tell me what it is in standard form. Standard form, read it off to me. Good job.
Last part. Minus 2 equals 0.
A lot of mistakes were made last hour. They would write it 2x squared minus 2 minus 3x. That's the wrong order. And then when they labeled it, they ended up labeling it wrong. Because we could just go A, B, and C, right? They tried to do that, and it was wrong. Because it wasn't. This is not B. It's C. So, Jalen, what's my A? What's my B? What's my C? What's my A?
Hold on 1 second.
Oh. What's my A? 2. What's my B? And my C? Negative 2. Good. Now, from here, guys, it's kind of the simple part. We just have to plug in what B is and what A and C are. So I'm going to write this. You need to write that formula again.
So write negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus, Ms. Kellerman,
Yes.
4ac.